Hi, everyone, and welcome to Balkan, the show that's going to help you navigate the massive challenges of life, motherhood, mental health, culture, identity, belonging, and much, much more. I'm hoping that this will bring you more acceptance, ease, joy, and purpose in your life. Thanks to each and every one of you that come back every time to listen, learn, heal, and feel inspired. If you really enjoyed any of the episodes, please consider sharing it with your loved ones and leaving me a review on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts from. It really does make a difference to the number of Balkan sisters that we can reach with the brilliant wisdom that my guests and I share. Do widzenia! Good morning, good day, and hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Balkan Sis. Oh well, it's been a while, right? It has been a while. I'm gonna cry, and I haven't even started. Well, today's episode is gonna be about love and loss. Um, and I think if you're a human, you've definitely loved, and you've definitely lost something that you've loved. So I just thought today was an important episode to record because when I go through a hard time, I like to retreat and I like to be by myself. So this is me reaching out and doing something different compared to what I usually do when I'm struggling. So right now I'm sweating, I'm hot, I have a coffee in front of me. I've sent off my toddler and my husband, and now it's just time for you and me to sit and talk and go through all the motions of love and loss and grief. So I do want to put a trigger warning or a warning message that there will be a lot of topics discussed today in regards to losing loved ones, illnesses, and things like that. So, and obviously past history events as a culture, as a nation, as a collective. So if it is triggering, you don't have to listen today, and that's totally okay. Or, it might be something that really helps you out in your own grieving journey. So just needed to put that out there. I hope you have all been well. I hope life has been kind to you. I hope you enjoyed the previous two episodes that I posted with the future crew. They were really a cool bunch and I loved, listening to them. I love learning from them. I've also been recently following them on YouTube. There's so many wonderful accounts that I've mingled with, that I follow, that I connect with. There's just wonderful people all around. And I think that sort of what restores my faith in humanity, because I think sometimes when you go through a hard time, you just think, wow, when will the hard time end, And I think because as a nation, as a people, as a collective, and everything that we've gone through, all of us and our parents and our grandparents and generations beyond, we've all been through so much and we've all lost a lot. So, yes, but this episode is about my little baby, my Bruno. He was my 10-year-old German boxer. And I don't know if you have animals, if you have dogs, if you have cats, if you're able to relate or not. If not, that's okay. I was never able to relate before either. I was not a huge dog or cat person or an animal lover. Well, I guess I didn't really have the chance to explore that as a child because, we had animals around, but the animals always served a purpose because we lived in the cellar in the village. So having this domesticated animal wasn't something that we ever had the opportunity to experience. And we did have a dog when we were living in the village, and my mum cried last night actually about how sad she was to leave him. They had to let him off the lead in the time of the war, and so many animals suffered, obviously as well as people. And I just thought today was an important episode to record and really dig deep and reach within myself to not retreat and not go into solitude and actually just share my journey, and hopefully it helps somebody else who's grieving or who's lost something. So look, loss to me, it can be anything. It can be a loss of a pet, a loss of a family member, a loss of your house, of your belongings. It can come in very many different forms, and I think it's important not to compare I think it's all valid and it all stands and it's all important if it meant a lot to you and now it's no longer here, that obviously that's, you know, that's a big way of having to release things and letting things go. Letting things go is really hard. We all know that. Relationships, people, places, all sorts of things. So, oh, anyway, let me start. I have notes here and I'm sorry if I'm rambling. Yeah. I'm just feeling overwhelmed right now. And I've been wanting to record this episode for a few weeks now and I just haven't had the strength, or the courage. So I'm just trying to be brave today. But look, my experience with death and grief as a young girl was very sheltered because in our culture, kids being at funerals wasn't something that was, I guess, accepted. It wasn't a place for children. I remember when people died, everybody wore black. There was a period of mourning. There was a period of no dancing or no celebration, no drinking, no, all those sort of things. So, you would mourn somebody and then for that 40 days, 49 period, you acted a certain way or you had certain rituals that you would do that would honor that person. You light a candle, to release their soul and things like that. So obviously it was very prevalent. Death is everywhere. That's the only thing that's certain in life. That's the only thing that we all know, that we're going to end up there. And in society, it's just not really talked about. It's really not an open topic of discussion. People don't like talking about death. People don't like talking about being sad. It's just an overall stigma, that comes with mental health and, mental health challenges or talking about your emotions or feelings. And actually, just today, I saw that, Selma Balkan Mama Therapy on Instagram, she said, Balkan people need to talk about their emotions. And that really hit home, especially in the last few weeks. I saw through my own pain and my own sadness and grief and anger and all those emotions, there was just so many people who were triggered by that, who didn't like me being sad, who haven't reached out to me while I've been sad, because people are used to me being a certain way, very bubbly, very open, very lighthearted. And then all of a sudden, I'm depressed or I'm sad or, I'm feeling all these emotions, which are so normal when you lose something that you love. And a lot of people are triggered by that. They want to fix that. They want to alter that. They want a quick fix. They just don't like you being sad. So yeah, growing up as a child, I guess back home, it wasn't something that children were exposed to. We were in a way sheltered for that. Uh, in a way naive as well, I guess you could say. Um, and it's just, yeah, grief changes people. It changes relationships. It's my first experience with a big loss, I guess, was when my uncle died in the war. He was only quite young, my mum's brother. And I remember the day that my dad had to tell her, and she was actually pregnant at the time with my little brother in Germany. And that was a really sad time. And watching my mum just fall apart and watching my dad having to hold on to this, trying to find the sort of right moment to tell her. I remember that very vividly. Obviously, my grandmother's death completely and utterly shaped me, changed me, stretched me in so many ways. And, she's been gone now for almost, I don't know, close to maybe 7 or 8 years. I've totally lost count, to be honest. And she actually died 1 week after I got married. So the night of our wedding, she almost died that night. And yeah, look, it really shaped me into who I am today. It really made me dig, dig, dig very deep. And I'd probably say I cried for 5 years, to be honest with you, on and off. I carried my grief. And then I realized that I would just carry my grief forever, for life. So then when our Bruno died, who was my first dog ever, first animal ever, and it was our first sort of little fur baby with me and my husband. And it was before we had businesses, before we started traveling, before we had our son, before I had my miscarriage, before we got our second dog, Leah, before we bought the house, before we did all these incredible things that we always dreamt about, we had him. And he represents a huge, huge 10 years of my life. And oh my God, guys, I'm so griefy today. I'm crying. What's wrong with me? But I promise I'm not going to cry in every episode, okay? There is also going to be some funny episodes coming around, but, we live in duality, so I need to show all the different sides. It's just a human experience. So, yeah, Bruno represents this 10-year period of my life from 24 years of age to 34, which is now. And I became a mother with him by my side. We got married. He actually was at our wedding. So, yeah, we are these crazy dog people. Our dogs sleep with us, they eat with us, we love them, they're part of our family, they are our family. And yeah, really, I think for me as a young girl, going through what we went through, I always seek that comfort and I always seek that, a place to call home, a safe nest. And then when we bought this house, which belongs to my husband's grandparents, they've passed since, I just felt like this is a home I never got to have. This is a home that I never got to grow up in myself. And this is my safe space and my safe place. And this is where I formed my family. So losing a part of, a crucial element of your family, it's, yeah, it's a big deal. And it just, changes everything. And it also changes your perspective because you think with all these people that you love, you think, oh, they're not going anywhere. We have time. But reality is we actually don't have time. And every day is a gift and every day is borrowed. So, everything's borrowed, really, everything, all the people we have, all the love we share. And it's, loss is the price we pay for the people we've loved and the things we've loved. And I remember just never feeling that connection to, I guess, my homeland and my house and things like that because we lost all of that at such a young age. So from about 6 years of age, I've just been carrying all this trauma, all this guilt, all this sadness, all these things with me that I've just carried through my life like a luggage. And then you come to a place like Australia or Canada or America or wherever you are, and you create your safe place, with your favorite people. And then all of a sudden, when those favorite people are no longer here, really just shifts and changes your perspective. Or even though I've been through grief before, it just comes back up in waves again. You think, oh, yep, I've been through this before. Here we go again. But nothing can prepare you for the emotions, for the feelings, for the sadness, for the loss, for the lump in your throat. And I remember even a pivotal point when, before I had my son Vito, I had a miscarriage. And we found out that we were having that baby. And then within the first few weeks, we found out we lost that baby. And I just remember sobbing and weeping and crying and just feeling so many different things that something had died inside of me. And I remember my best friend, Frankie, if she's listening, I want to tell you that I love you, Bobby. And she was going through this grief with me. And I remember she was sitting on the floor with me and she started crying, and her boyfriend had just left Australia. He went back to Croatia and they were doing this long distance relationship. And I remember I'm crying and she was crying. And, she said, I know it seems so stupid. She said, how could I be crying? You've lost your baby. And I'm crying because, my boyfriend's gone. She felt like, why should I be crying? Like, he's alive, I'm alive, we're happy, you've lost something. Something inside of you has died. And I just couldn't speak, I couldn't find the right words. But now looking back on that experience, I think all loss is valid. All loss is valid. Loss can come in so many different shapes and forms. There's no wrong or right way. People will try and tell you some of the stupid things that people say is, oh, things will get better in time. And think of all the good memories you have. People will just say so much dumb shit and excuse the swearing. I am a bit sweary. If you know me, I swear. But I just think to myself, if you haven't experienced grief, if you haven't experienced death or the loss of a loved one, or you haven't faced having to say goodbye to something that you love, then if you don't know how to help that person, then simply don't say anything at all. Just give them a hug. Don't try and fix the situation. Don't try and alter their feelings. Don't try and alter the moment. Don't try and patch anything up. Simply just be there. Or educate yourself, read some books, listen to some podcasts, or Go on the internet and read about how to support a grieving person if you've never been through it yourself. There's going to be so many moments in our life that maybe we haven't been through that one of our friends or family members is experiencing. And it's so important how we show up. It's so important and so crucial how we support these people that we love in our life. So if you are, grieving right now, I want to tell you that I'm sorry, that I love you, that I understand how you feel, that there's no timestamp on loss. There is just no timeline. And if you're wondering when things will get better, they will never get better. They will simply just change and alter and evolve over time. So just give yourself time. Don't rush. Do whatever it is that you need to do to get through each day. If you are somebody who's supporting somebody through their, you know, loss journey, grief journey, miscarriages, losing parents, losing pets, whatever it might be, losing a business, losing a house, belongings, whatever it might be, just support them. Just be there for them. Don't try and fix them, and, our culture is so heavy on comparison. And I know when Bruno died, I had people reaching out to me, specifically people from overseas, and they were saying to me things like, "We're so sorry to hear about Bruno." And then they would follow it up and say, "Oh, but at least you have Vito, and at least nothing bad happened to Vito, my son." And I just thought to myself, what the hell? That's so stupid. Like, so it means that I can't be sad because it's a dog and a dog has less value in society. And I should actually be, in fact, happy because it's not somebody else in my family, which is just really, really sad. And, people, I guess, try and help, but they end up doing more damage along the way. So I know they have good intentions, but at the end of the day, it's not my job to make other people feel okay. It's not my job to, comfort other people through my own grief. And I've simply just shut out anybody who's not being supportive. Because right now, I'm just taking things day by day, step by step, and I'm trying not to overwhelm myself. And yeah, it's also not my job to carry other people's emotions through my own journey. Whether it's through loss or love or whatever it might be. There's always going to be people who are jealous. There's always going to be people who, wish ill upon you. There's going to be people who, maybe say the wrong things. And it's up to you as a person who's going through this to, either mute those people out of your life, put them on hold, put them on pause, and you don't have to respond. Or you can respond and tell them exactly how you think, which is what I did. So, you know, um, there's a lot to grief. And it's hard because you have to make so many decisions as well once there's been a loss in the family. And we typically, we have been brought up Catholic and I even Muslim religion and culture and Serbian as well, and many other different cultures and religions. They don't do ashes. And that was another thing that really sort of shook me, I guess. I wanted to bury him in the backyard and have a beautiful burial and plant beautiful flowers and have a garden. And my husband said, "What is if we move away? We want to be able to take his ashes with us anyway." And I thought, oh, okay, okay. And I wasn't really thinking straight. And I remember when the urn came back with the ashes, I lost it, guys. I was so mad at myself. I was so mad at my husband. I was so mad at everything, actually. And the anger is just one of the emotions that you feel when you're grieving. And I just felt unsettled. I felt unsafe, and I thought, why did we do this? We're all about preserving the body, and the body being, with nature and earth and things like that. So, all those challenges come up. So, I really urge you to have those conversations with your loved ones, around that, how you want to be remembered, what songs you want played, have a will in place. Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? How do you want that to play out when you're no longer here? That's really, really important to write out because we live every day like we're going to live forever, which is just not the case. Obviously, I'm 34 and, we all think we're going to live for a really, really, really long time. And that's our hope, that's our intention. But the hardest part is, when you've got little people, you've got children, and this is my son's first experience with loss and grief. And he's turning 4 this December. And I just think to myself, wow, this is uncharted waters for me. This is new territory. I stupid bloody message. But yeah, I really struggled with telling him, and so did my husband, because he loves his doggies, and when he used to go to the park, people would say to him, Vito, do you have a brother and sister? And he used to say, yeah, Bruno and Leah, which is his dogs. And people used to look at me and say, oh, how old are they? And I said, they're actually German boxers. They're dogs. And people would go, oh, okay. He doesn't have siblings. So I'm like, no. So, we called, Bruno and Leah brother and sister. That's what we call them. We would do story time together. We would do bath time together. We did breakfast together, dinner, we'd have the fire in the backyard. So this is his first experience with losing something that he loves. And I remember the morning that he asked, where's Bruno? Where's Bruno, Mama? And I had to explain to him, what happened to him. So I didn't want to fantasize things to him. I didn't want to tell him, he's in heaven and he's gone and all that sort of things. I wanted to be real with him. We also had Bruno's body here because he passed away the night before, and we chose to keep him overnight, which was a beautiful thing and was very comforting. And that's something we did with my grandmother as well. She died in the evening and we kept her body until the next day. So it's comforting because you get to hold their hands, you get to say goodbye, you get to cry, you get to sort of release, and you get to hang on to them just that little bit longer, before they no longer here in physical form. And he asked me, Mama, where's Bruno? And, so gently I broke things to him, very gently, on a level that a 4-year-old would understand. And my husband was there also. And he said that he was very proud of me with the way I handled things, and I was very proud of him as well. And we got through it together. We got through that, day 1 together, got through day 2 together, and that's all you have to do is just get through those days, just one by one. Don't set unrealistic expectations for yourself. Also your children, because he's been emotionally very turbulent, very up and down, and it's been very, very tricky. Navigating all this as a little family, as a young family, and also our dog Leah, who, has been Bruno's sister for the last, 5 or so years. And she's been struggling also. And yeah, so I'm just trying to create harmony within my household and try and keep everybody happy, fed, alive, and thriving, and keep everybody balanced. So, as all mums do, you all know the juggle. So this is totally different for me because I don't have the luxury to simply go into my room and just cry and be sad and be upset. I have to sort of get on with life. Life is pushing me to just, get on with it, which sometimes I don't like because I just want to have the comfort of, someone holding me or stroking my face and letting me cry. And, so I do miss my best friend. I miss living with my mum. My mum was here last night, and I just think to myself, wow, I was so quick to move out of home. Why? I should have stayed longer. And I know so many people can relate to that, that they miss their mum or they miss their loved ones, people that have passed, you just simply want them back. And all you have is those memories that are left. So, and I would like to just say, if you are struggling with any of this, seek support from your family, seek support from your friends or people that you love that understand you, seek support from a psychologist, a counselor, a therapist, a mentor, anybody who can guide you through this journey, even if it's for 1 or 2 appointments or 3, or even if it's for a year or 2, or however long it takes, it's irrelevant. It's important that you reach out to somebody because, sometimes we can't do this all by ourselves, and we're not meant to. Um, and, people should still send flowers, whether it's a dog, whether it's, a cat, or whatever the situation is. You need to be the person that supports someone who's grieving. Send flowers, take food. I remember when my grandmother died, I heard my friends, they dropped off food at my door without even knocking. They left probably 2 weeks worth of food at my door because I just couldn't be bothered even getting up and cooking. I was struggling even just to brush my hair. Grief can be so overwhelming. So definitely still do all those things and give those little gestures. It just makes makes a huge difference, or call that person. Even if they're going to be sad and they're going to cry, still call them anyway. Another thing is let it all out. As mums, we're scared to show our emotions in front of our kids because we don't want to make our kids upset. We don't want to make them cry. We don't want to, dismantle the household with our emotions. So as mums, especially we sort of keep everything in. So I would definitely, and look, this is just my lived experience, guys. So it's definitely not, medical support by any means or anything like that. This is just my own lived experience and some things that have helped me along my journey. And one of those things has been letting things out, letting it out, crying, screaming, punching a pillow, punching a punching bag, going out for a run, go for a walk, tapping back into your body or breathing, going to yoga, whatever it is that makes you feel, at peace, go towards that. And even if it takes you a few days, that's okay. I know grief can be so overwhelming. And as a culture as well, we don't, this is a big, big thing because the way we grieve or the way we love is also very much dictated by the way we grew up and what we were modeled with. And another thing is, taking comfort in those little signs that you get from your loved ones. And if you don't believe, you won't receive. And I remember when my grandfather, when my dealer died, we used to watch the tennis together for so many years. That was our ritual. That was our thing. We would watch all the soccer games, all the tennis, very heavily into sport, as you can imagine, as all Wok family and European families do. And I remember one night, I think like a few months had passed, and it was Bernard Tomic, who's a Croatian Australian tennis player, was playing at the Australian Open, and we were living in this little apartment. And I remember getting up and I walked past my buffet where all my photos were. And those photos had been there for years. And I remember particular one photo of me and my dear dog was sitting in the corner. And as I walked past, that photo fell down, face down. And I went, oh, okay. And I turned around. And this is all while I'm watching the tennis on my own. And I was actually crying because I was missing my grandfather and I was missing being able to make that phone call because I would always ring him if I wasn't with him and say, hey, are you watching this match? Are you watching this game? And I remember that photo falling down and I told my husband and I started to cry. And he said to me, babe, it's a sign, it's a sign from your deed or from your grandfather. And I just remember thinking, no, the frame must be broken. I must have tapped it. I must have something. And your brain is trying to rationalize what's just happened, because you're so scared to believe that it could be them. And that's another thing, you're scared that it could be them. You're scared that it could be this sign from the universe, from God, whatever you want to call it. But it's so important to retain your faith because, when someone dies, your whole world stops. Quite literally, your whole world stops. And you sit down and you look around and the world just keeps on moving. The cars just keep on driving, people just keep on working, people check in with you here and there for a week or two, and then, you're forgotten about, everybody just moves on. And that's really a scary thing because you think, wow, I'm no longer who I used to be. So how can I just go back into the world, when everything has changed for me? So definitely look, some of the things that help me navigate through all of that is belief, believing that maybe there is another world out there, believing maybe that this person will come back in another form, that they do send us messages, that, they'll always forever be in our lives in one way or another if you believe it. Another thing that I love is just music, songs. Music really helps me. It's healing. The words speak straight at me. And, one of the things that actually happened when Bruno died, the night that I was crying, and I was just crying and crying. And it was one particular day after he passed away that also our second dog, Leah, had to go into an operation. And my son was not with us that day. And our house was empty for the first time without dogs and a child in 10 years. And I remember I was just crumbling. And that night I was really, really struggling. And I was going through some old pictures, of the last 10 years of our life. And then my phone froze. And as I fell asleep through my tears, because you do that a lot, you cry a lot at night, lots of tears. And a song was playing in the background, and I remember pulling up my phone in the middle of the night, and I could hear this song, and it was actually "Happy" by Pharrell Williams. And this is the lyrics of the songs. They just have to tell you them. It says the song starts off with, "It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space with the air like I don't care. Baby, by the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do." So basically, the song is clap along if you're happy, and I just, ah, and then he says, I'm just trying to find the words. He basically says, "No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why." And then he says, "Because I'm happy." And I just, wow, those words really triggered me because I'm like, that's him talking to me, no offense to you, but I'm doing fine. I want you to be happy. And I just think, how do the people that have passed on, how would they want us to feel? How would they want us to enter that next chapter of our life without them around? And our job is to do them proud. And you don't have to be proud every day. You don't have to be brave every day. You're going to have good and bad days, and that's totally okay. But, if your loved ones could talk back to you, what would they say? So I know it can be extremely overwhelming. And, if people are validating your experience, if they aren't being there for you in the way that you need them, definitely source the help elsewhere. There's therapists and support everywhere. And, you know, I think Red just gives you this really amazing perspective that you wouldn't have otherwise had. How if you knew that person was passing away tomorrow, and you knew that person that you love so much was not going to be here in a year or in 6 months, I think we would all behave very differently. We would all behave so differently in our lives, in our waking lives. We're all so consumed. We're all so busy. And, just reach out to others if you're going through it or somebody else is as a supporter. It doesn't cost you anything, to be there for that person. It literally costs you nothing to be kind. Um, so just do the right thing and be kind and reach out to someone, and I think for us as a whole, as our culture, like there's been so many goodbyes. There's been so much grief, war, loss, in so many forms that I constantly just feel like when things like this happen in my life, I'm just constantly being reminded of everything we've been through up until this moment, So when Bruno died, I just felt like so many other things were dying inside of me. And it just made me think of all the previous experiences I've had that have led me to this moment, and so many goodbyes at airports, so many goodbyes back, in my homeland with my family. Just so many goodbyes, leaving our country, leaving Germany, leaving Europe, coming to Australia, then being in Australia, then saying goodbye to people who come here and visit us. And there's just so many endings and so many goodbyes that I think for someone who's been brought up here, that's just not normal for them. That's just not something that they've had to deal with. If you had the privilege of staying in the same country and growing up in the same place, in the same neighborhood, with the same friends, over a 20, 30-year period, you're extremely lucky, you're extremely blessed. Because for us as a collective, that's just not something that we were given. So much has been taken away from us from such a young age. And look, the meaning will reveal itself. Everything in life will reveal itself. Things, like my best friend says, things will crystallize. Don't put pressure on it, don't control it, especially, when you're anxious. The meaning of this situation in your life will reveal itself one way or another. And I just hope that brings you some comfort for now. And I hope that some way this little conversation today has helped. I'm sorry I haven't been maybe more articulate or giving you more from myself or giving you more tips or pointers. I hope maybe there was some little key takeaways there. I have been listening to a beautiful podcast. It's actually called Good Morning. And I've got some great resources that I've been following that I want to share with you in the show notes. So if you are struggling, I will share them. There is also resources in Australia, and I'm not sure which one's in Europe or in America, depending on where you are, but there is one in Australia called griefline, .org.au. It's a great resource for anybody who's grieving a loss right now. Like I said, a loss can be in very many different forms, and I highly recommend that you go on there if you are struggling with something. Also, yeah, podcasts, books, journaling, writing. I haven't been writing all that much, to be honest. I did write a letter to my son because he has an email address. So I actually did write him an email. I explained the whole situation to him. So one day when he gets older and I give him this password, he'll have a collection of, big moments that have happened to him in his life. And I wanted to look back on that and to know that mum really cared and mum really loved hard and mum really tried. And I hope it helps him, throughout his life. And that's another thing. Being a mum is so fucking hard. And navigating these waters, and I just think I used to think when he was a baby, I can't wait for him to get older and be more independent, to make his own food and go to the toilet. And now that he's so much more independent, I just keep on thinking, oh my God, like things are only getting harder because he's able to understand so much more. And yeah, death is a big one, for little kids, for parents. And I just hope that no matter where you are, I want you to know that you're brilliant, you're wonderful, you're amazing, you're doing great. I want you to cut yourself some slack. I want you to extend the same empathy and love that you give to others. I want you to extend that today to yourself and obviously to somebody else who's really struggling. So, and if you are struggling, there's a lot of great resources online. I'll share them in my show notes. I'll put the links on there. As usual, it was great to just, have a little therapy session. I am coming back with a beautiful episode with the lovely Deborah Gabinich, who she actually wrote a book and it's quite fascinating. And I have so many wonderful guests lined up for you that I think are really funny, interesting, and enlightening. And I'm glad that we get to share these stories. And look, sometimes I come on here and I'm fine, and other times I come on and I'm not fine. And I think that's just the creative process. I just think that if you're a creative person, it's just how it goes, and you have to embrace all of it. And there's little things you can do that give you comfort. Don't let other people judge your process. Don't let that judgment creep in. You do what feels right in your heart. I just bought Bruno, actually, just because I'm sitting in my office. I actually bought Bruno a star certificate. So I brought him a star. So now there's a star in the sky that you can all look at. That's Bruno. And you can do this for anybody. You can do this as a gift when somebody passes. You can actually do this as a birthday gift, with kids or, loved ones. And it was just a nice way to, I guess, mark the end of his chapter, the end of our chapter with our boys. So I love the certificate. It's not too expensive, and you can pretty much get them anywhere. They can post them to you. You can download them by email. So I hope that's something that might be useful and helpful. And when the certificate came, I cried, because to know that I can look in the sky, you actually get coordinates. So if you have a telescope, you can look in the sky and you can find your star. You can find your special person. So, that's just a little way, a little touch that has helped me feel better, that has comforted me. And yeah, and I've had some wonderful, wonderful friends and people in my life that have reached out to me, that have been there for me, have given me flowers, have held my hand, have given me a big hug, and that have loved me unconditionally. And, if there is people out there who are intimidated by your sadness, fuck them. Because at the end of the day, you don't need any more crap on top of all the things that you're already currently going through. So, it's other people are trying to sort of fix you, or, tell you things or put their ideas onto you, just block them out, because at the end of the day, only you know yourself the best. Tap into your own intuition reach deep within yourself and know that you will be able to get through it. There is no finish line. There is no end date. Grief stays with you forever. And it's not something that you need to get over. And it's not something that you need to explain away to others. It's not something that you need to justify. So whatever it is that you've lost at this current time, I hope that this episode gives you a little bit of comfort, a little bit of love. And to everybody who's reached out to me on Instagram and on Messenger and through the podcast, I just want to send you so much love, no matter where you are. And I hope that we can continue to connect on here. I hope that this can continue to be a place of love, a place of acceptance, a place of nurture, of inspiration. And yeah, no toxic positivity to you guys. Honestly, no, none of that crap for you. That's for sure. No Tony Robbins attitude here, but yeah, I just hope that it's showered you and sprinkles you with a little bit of love and a little bit of hope that tomorrow maybe can be better. So just get through today and reach out if you need help. And I can't wait to talk to you guys on the next episode. And thanks so much for being here. Ciao. Bye. So that was the episode. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And as ever, if you did, please consider sharing it with your loved ones and leaving me a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It really does make a difference to the number of Balkan sisters that we can reach with the brilliant wisdom that my guests and I share. Thanks for being here. I do viđenja.